What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today I'm going to give you some of the best accuracy tips for quarterbacks that will help you to never miss a pass. Let's get started. Also, fellas, if you are a quarterback and you would like to train with us this offseason, we are going to be coming out to 8 more states across the U.S. for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver camps. Next up on our camp tour, we are going to be coming out to Honolulu, Hawaii. That camp is completely sold out. Then we'll be heading out to Boston, Massachusetts. Same deal. That camp is completely sold out as well. But then we'll be heading out to Cleveland, Ohio, Austin, Texas, Newark, New Jersey, Seattle, Washington, Denver, Colorado, and Los Angeles, California. So if you guys are local to one of those states and would like to train with us, 2 whole days of work, specifically for quarterbacks and wide receivers, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to have you out to one of our off-season camps. Again, very first link below to sign up. Let's get back to this video. All right, guys, so when it comes down to throwing accuracy, there are 2 main areas that you guys want to be able to focus on. That is going to be your release point, and that is going to be something, and there's going to be another thing called the midline, which is an imaginary line that goes down the middle of your body. So all the things that we're going to talk about today that tie into accuracy all have to do with your release point and with that midline. Now, as a quarterback, from your throwing mechanics perspective, for throwing motion, it all starts from the ground up. It starts with where your base is, setting yourself up to be in a good mechanical position so your upper body doesn't have all these flaws which can affect your release point. So that will start out with your front stride. So when you guys go to throw, most important thing is that you're able to keep your feet inside your shoulder frame. It's the mistake that a lot of quarterbacks will make, because everybody knows in the pocket you don't want to stand with this like crazy wide base. You don't want your feet to be super far outside your frame, because when your feet are far outside your frame, you're not able to rotate at your hips, right? You lose power, you lose velocity, and inconsistency. So everybody wants to get to this like narrow base, back foot underneath their back shoulder. A good trigger I've been telling my guys is try to put your back foot underneath your back hip. Now when guys get to this position, what they will do is that they'll push off of their back foot and they'll take this real long front stride. Now the problem when your feet are super far outside your frame, because honestly you're at the exact same spot you would have been if you would have started with a very wide base, is that your hips don't rotate. So as a quarterback, naturally, to be able to create power, you're going to create power from your upper half. You're a rotational athlete and you're either going to rotate from your hips or your upper half. So what guys will do is, because they have this real long stride, they'll take their front elbow and they'll pull down. And when you pull down, that pulls your front side, your body off the midline. They'll take their front side and they'll rip open. That is a source of power, but it is inconsistent power because that will flaw your release point off of that midline. And we're going to talk about some little things that you guys can do to prevent that from happening as this video progresses. Now, for a front stride perspective, the spot that you want to try to get to is like a step almost in place. You don't want to step to the target, you want to step towards the target. So like, let's say I'm trying to throw to the left here, I'm in a good base. Don't think, okay, I'm going to throw to him. Think, I'm just going to step towards him. I'm going to step in the direction of him. Almost think of it like you're trying to shoot your heel into the grass. How quickly can I get my hip or my hips through, heel into the grass? So now, because I'm in a good base, my hips can actually rotate through and I don't need to have this other source of power with my upper half, which will affect that release point. So first things first, fellas, to be more accurate, you have to have that short, compact stride. All right, guys, so now that we talked about the stride and what that stride will do to your upper half is that will create some inconsistencies with your upper half, because you're going to use the upper body as a source of power, which will pull your arm off of the midline, and that will affect your release point, which will make us inaccurate. So when you guys have that long front stride, what a lot of guys like to do, like we said, is they'll take this front elbow and they will pull that elbow down almost to their hip. Now that is going to be a source of power, but remember, we talked about that midline, and that's where I want to start with this video. There's an imaginary line. Every single athlete has that imaginary midline that goes down the middle of their frame. And whatever your front side does in your throwing sequence, that is going to affect your arm on that midline. So if you're a quarterback who likes to throw high or miss high, misses low into the ground, chances are you probably have an undisciplined front elbow. And that elbow pulls down, watch what happens to my release point. It pushes my release point up high, I let it go early, I have this real high release, I let it go late, I'm coming down like a pitcher, and I miss high and low. So if that's something that you do, a good like kind of trigger I guess you can think about to prevent that elbow from swinging is, I call it eating a sandwich. So your front hand, like everybody I'm sure has eaten a sandwich before, they've held it by their face right here. That's how you want to think of your front hand throughout the throwing motion, because when you go to throw, if this elbow likes to pull, that hand's not by your face, right? But if you keep that hand by your face, that keeps your release point at a consistent spot, and you finish with that hand still eating the sandwich so it doesn't pull that release super high. So if you have that overly high release, focus on keeping that hand up by the collarbone, eating a sandwich, and that will prevent that elbow pull. All right, guys, so another thing that a long stride can do, or maybe just an inconsistent front side, is make you miss left and right on certain throws. So that usually comes from you over-rotating with your front side and ripping it all the way open in the throw. So it's another old school, like, kind of quarterback coach method that, like, oh, to be able to get power, you want to start with your front shoulder on the target, and then you want to finish and replace with your front shoulder almost pointed behind you. Now, that is something we call over-rotating and can affect your release point on that midline like we were talking about. So when you guys go to throw, we never want to be the guy that will swing and pull this here, because that is going to lengthen that arm outside your frame, not high like the elbow pulling down, but wide like an undisciplined front shoulder. So that makes that arm widen. You come across. If you release it too early, you're missing to the right. You release it too late, you're missing to the left. And it's all based on keeping that release point inside your frame. Now, there's a lot of information out there about, arm slots, right? And you probably have heard it before, like, oh, you want to try to have a lower arm slot. A lot of people glorify this sidearm throw. And at the end of the day, it's all about extension, because if you can't extend at your release point, you're not going to get any consistency on the ball. But if you're this guy who rips open, but you're thinking, oh, well, I have this sidearm angle, some quarterback coach told me to throw like this on Instagram, that's not able to get to extension when you have an undisciplined front side. If you keep a compact front side and you want to change up the arm slot, that's completely fine, because then we can extend, okay? The whole purpose of keeping that arm inside your frame is to extend, and that extension is where my accuracy comes from. So we can't get there with the wild front side. So when guys go back to throw, focus on keeping your shoulders and your hips parallel to the target. So if I'm trying to throw to the camera right now and I go to throw, I'm not going to end up with my hips and shoulders facing over here. I'm going to stay square. I'm going to keep my hand eating a sandwich up by the collarbone somewhere here so I don't pull down, and I'm going to keep my shoulders level at the release point so my release can stay inside my frame. I don't want it to be here, I want it to be here so I can extend. Does it have to be a perfect 90? No. Can it be a little bit lower? Yes. Can it be a little higher? It's totally fine. I just need us to get to extension, because to be accurate, it all ties into your wrist flick. Where are you flicking your wrist at the target? And that has a lot to do with what your front side does. If your front side is wild because you're not rotating at your hips, or maybe you just have a bad habit of pulling down, ripping open, you're not going to be able to get to extension, and that throw will be inconsistent. You might hit a couple, but it will not be consistent. 10 throws in a row right on the money with an undisciplined front side. All right, guys, really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. We always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like to come out and train with us, we have 8 more remaining off-season camps this year for QBs and wide receivers, coming all the way from Honolulu, Hawaii to Los Angeles, California. So check out that very first link in the description below if you'd like to sign up, get some more information on that. So again, very first link below. I'll see you guys next time.